40 Acres and Maybe a Mule, Chapter 12. Keeping a road front of April wildflowers for gladness, the three men, Gideon, Mr. Friedman, and Pascal, set fire to the meadow. Pascal was amazed at how easy it was. The blackened earth smoldered for 2 days while they planned the fields. When I was with the army, I worked for my food and pay, Gideon told Pascal. Now that I be a boss man, it be my turn to hire others. You all want to work? He asked 2 people passing on the road. You paying? The man asked. 3 meals a day and a willow tree to sleep under, said Gideon. When my cotton crop comes in, I'll be paying him money. Good enough for me, the man called, and his wife joined him. Others also accepted the terms happily. First time ever I worked for a colored boss man, said one woman. First time, and I like it. For 2 weeks, with extra workers, they marked rows, measured off spaces, planted cotton, and watered the seeds. A Union soldier wearing a red bandana stared with Gideon, offered him work. I be not much of a farmer, the man said, but I can cook. Y'all needin' a good cook? The soldier's name was Emmanuel. Medium tall with dark brown skin, he had a beard and graying bushy hair. For meat in his meals, he hunted quail and wild turkey, and he fished in streams. Gladness was freed from cooking so that she could farm. Pascal noticed that on some days Mr. Friedman would disappear for hours, wading jauntily across the creek and trotting out the road they had come along. In the evening he would return smiling, like a cat that's been licking cowcrete. 3 days a week, Pascal, Nellie, and Gladness left in the early morning to walk to school, taking shortcuts through farmland. Pascal expected to see Judith Bibb and her brothers, but they never came. After walking back, Pascal and the others worked chopping cotton, tending the fields. Pascal thought now that I'd be a landowner. I'd be somebody, but was that true? What had really changed? He felt different, but was it the 40 acres that made the difference? If not, what was it? Besides working on the farm and disappearing sometimes, Mr. Friedman repaired porch steps, nails, window frames, and replaced wagon sides and river stock to earn money. With it, he bought flour and sugar and coffee for their meals. Gladness and Nellie bought ribbons with his pennies. They loved to tie pretty colors around their neck and to braid colorful ribbons in their hair. Nellie told Pascal, I'd be so happy Miss Gladness came with us. Now I'm not the only girl in the family. Emmanuel baked biscuits every morning, true to Gideon's promise. For an oven, he used a stone pit he had built. They all enjoyed Emmanuel's soft biscuits for breakfast. His meat stews or fish fries for dinner at noon, and another stew or quail for supper in the evening. Gideon was fascinated by the ghost tree. No one calls a tree a ghost tree without there being a reason, he told Pascal. One evening, he decided to study his tree, so he slid down under the roots. In seconds, he crawled out, howling in pain. What be the matter? Called Gladness, running over. Everyone ran after her. Gideon slapped his face, arms, and legs. Fleas! He screamed, dancing and howling. I be set on fire from bites. Hurry to the creek, called Gladness. Cold water will ease them bites. On hands and knees, she searched among the wildflowers for medicine. Scratching his bites, Gideon lay in the cool creek. Gladness was quick to choose wide green leaves of a low plant. At the creek, she hammered the leaves with the stones from the creek bed. Here, she said, rub these all over the bites to draw the poison out. Gideon sat up and plastered his face and arms and legs with the leaves. Oh, he told Pascal, who squatted by the flower, this is better be the balm of Gilead. Gladness be a healer, all right. Mr. Friedman called. I know how to clear them fleas out. As Nellie and Pascal watched, he shoveled embers from the cooking fire into the hole under the raised rocks. Leaves in the cavern smoldered. I told you that animals slept there, he said as he lifted the shovel. Prove me right. Smoke be clear them fleas out. After that, Gideon and Gladness sat under the ghost tree almost every evening. Pascal liked the happy murmur of their voices. They would talk until a million friendly stars came twinkling to join them. Evenings, Nellie and Pascal played hide-and-go-seek along the creek among the willow trees. One night, Nellie cried, Oh, the mystery lights are out! She began to run and skip. You mean the fireflies? Asked Pascal. Come dance with me, Pascal. Dance around in the mystery light. Follow it. When the light goes out, you hold your breath until it comes back on. Then you make a wish. He lived, following her. Do you feel the mystery? No, maybe. Yes? What mystery? Nellie waved her arms and danced. The mystery of wishes. They're just bugs, you know. Do your wishes come true? Nellie put her hands on her hips. Pascal, ain't this a wish come true? We live out the dream of every slave, whatever be born, landowners of the prettiest farm on God's green earth. One day in May, Mr. Friedman began digging a trench in a square on the hilltop and filling it with stones. For a week, he worked at digging a shaft from the center of the hilltop down to the bottom of the hill. Emmanuel used some of the topsoil for a second food garden that would ripen later. Pascal asked, Why the hole, Mr. Friedman? Escape, Pascal, he said. I ain't building no house for colored people that don't have as many ways to escape as there are people inside. On rainy days, Pascal and Nellie played sliding down the tunnel. Pascal slid feet first, but Nellie dived in head first. They smoothed the walls and let high grass and wildflowers hide the outside entrance. They could use it to escape all right. But the thought of having to escape frightened Pascal. Would something go wrong? Surely if they did everything right, they could farm in peace. In late May, Mr. Friedman asked for help. I need the hired men and Gideon. My apologies to the ladies. Pascal, we need you to guide us so nobody breaks an ankle. Hands on hips. Nellie stood with the hired women and watched them leave. Gladness waved and Pascal waved back. When they reached Old Farm some miles away, they saw that Mr. Friedman had separated sides from several abandoned houses. Walls had been nailed firm and were ready to be carried. He even had a roof lying waiting. A house all built? Said Gideon. All it needs is putting together. He covered his face. Well, said Mr. Friedman, don't just stand there. Let's march. Trip after trip, men carried house walls and propped them up on the stone foundations in the trenches. After each trip, Pascal grew more excited and happy. After a week of heavy work, the sides were in place, but Pascal worried. As he and Nellie stood on the hilltop, he pointed to the walls. Don't none of them meet, he told her. Mr. Friedman must have him a plan, she said. You're right, said Mr. Friedman, walking up behind them. On the last trip, they carried narrow wood sections. Mr. Friedman fit doors on all the four corners of the house. Now the home was 8-sided, and the aged wood shone like silver. But the roof stuck out over the front. They were standing by the house when Pascal asked, Why does the roof hang over? Mr. Friedman said, Ain't you ever heard of a porch? Gideon gasped. Pascal swallowed hard. This be the prettiest little house I ever did see, he told Mr. Friedman. They not only had a family farm, but they had a family farm with a farmhouse. It looks pretty enough to be an Angel Michael's house in heaven, said Nellie. She stroked the wall of the farmhouse, then hugged a corner with her arms and stretched wide. Pascal's heart felt squeezed for joy every time he walked around their home. In good weather, boys and men slept outside while Gladness, Nellie, and the hired women slept in the house. On rainy nights, everyone slept inside on the dirt floor. Mr. Friedman promised to let them build furniture during the winter. Nellie tied grass on sticks to make a broom and swept the floor daily. More than once, Pascal saw his brother walking around the farmhouse, touching the walls and smiling. Pascal couldn't look up at their home on the hillside without smiling himself. Sometimes he felt so happy he wondered if he had died and gone to heaven. Gideon was right, Pascal thought. People looked at them differently when they saw the farmhouse and the cotton fields. Sometimes white people rode by in carriages and stared at their farm. Pascal's heart swelled with pride. The city family was looked upon with respect. A lame-legged, twisted-hand boy who owned land was somebody. One day, Mr. Friedman said, Now we need logs to make the porch columns. I found 4 in matching size. Trouble is, they be rooted in the ground and pine branches to the sky. I got me a hatchet, said one hired man. The next morning, a few men left with Gideon and Mr. Friedman to cut the porch columns. Morning mists burned in the joyful sunshine of June. Golden meadowlarks flew by singing, and a breeze rippled the wildflowers and grass. Somewhere a woodpecker nailed tat 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 on a tree trunk. In the field 7 hired women, Nellie and Gladys, bent over with tin cans, watering the cotton. That June morning, Pascal decided not to work. Nobody was watching him. His brother and the other men were gone. He would sneak away and go looking for the Bibbs farm. He searched for hours, wandering in one direction, then another. Far back in a field of grass, he finally saw their wagon covered with a canvas tent top. "How to do, Bibbs?" he called as he limped towards them. Matthew peeped out of the wagon like a shy squirrel from a tree hole. He pulled back. Slowly Judith climbed out and held up a hand. "Ma says don't come no farther," she says in a weak voice. "We don't want to catch no disease." Her voice quivered. "We all been sick. Mark, baby, Daniel are dead. Stinking and ain't even been buried yet." "Dead?" Pascal cried. "What happened? 2 children dead?" He stepped back and clutched his forehead. His heart began to pound, and he held his breath. "Pa had typhoid first. He was lying low and likely to die. Then Mark and Daniel, Ma and me were struck with fever and red spots, vomiting and loose bowels. Now there's only 3 children. Pa is weak, but he's alive." Pascal called. "Wait right here, I'll get help." Judith pointed. "Go back, this short way. We're your neighbors right across the lake from you. We saw your fire." Miss Bibb looked out the tent flap. "Pascal," she called weakly, "the good Lord must have sent you. Our food gave out last week. We are very, very, very much suffering for the wants of something to eat." "I'll be right back," Pascal called, and heart pounding, he began running.